Okay, we're almost live. It looks like things are getting connected. Just checking, making sure everything's going out. It is. Okay, so looks like Facebook is up and YouTube is thinking about it and Twitch is up and running. Hi everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is Wednesday, October 2nd. Let's see. Sun finally came out. It's been over a week. Hopefully everyone is safe and made it through the storm okay. For those of you on the West Coast, we had a hurricane out here on the East Coast. I'm sure you've heard about it. It made national news, right? But anyway, so today we have another play along. It is the Pearl Drop project. We've been doing, or I've been doing play alongs. I think this is the third one. It's a series where to show support for what I'm doing on these lives, you can buy a kit and you can play along with us. So have not announced the next one, but there should probably be at least one more before the end of the year is what I am pushing for. And so let's talk about what's going on for the rest of the year. So much coming up. We have virtual labor crafting. Kits are starting to ship out this week. So if you haven't gotten your kit yet, that's why. And if you haven't signed up for a kit yet, you still can. There's still time to get it. It does start on the, what is it, the 13th, I think. But virtuallaborcrafting.com with instructors from around the world and about, the 16th, I'm sorry, it starts on the 16th of October. And we do the classes live on Zoom so that you can work with us and work through the projects. And we have about 75 projects posted for this time. Lots of new stuff, and I think about 5 new instructors have joined us for this round, so that's pretty exciting. What else is coming up? What's new and exciting? Prague is coming up in December. We did have someone cancel, so there is an available spot if you want to join us in Prague and run around the Czech Republic. And then in January, we have the Tucson Gem Show. And then in February, we're all going to Bali. And so we're already planning for next year. So 2025 is looking pretty full. There's all kinds of stuff going on. We have also planning a trip to Thailand. So if anybody wants to take a metal immersion excursion with me, do reach out. It is announced on our Facebook page and on the Urban Beater website. So, but it sells out pretty quickly. If you want in, you might want to put in your name now before it sells out. And I mean, heck, I think, and 2026, we've got Morocco again. So that's the story about what's going on next year and what's happening for the rest of the year. What else is happening for the rest of the year? Let's think about this. I think that's about it. So a couple more play alongs. Oh, yeah. So somebody planted a seed about 2 weeks ago. And I am going to see if we can get it done for either October or November, but I'm going to do a D-stash. And we'll do it live and see what happens. I have so much stuff here, it needs to go. I'm in the cleanup mode. I know it's not spring, but I'm doing spring cleaning, fall cleaning. Okay, let's just get this stuff out of here. So many things, cabs, tools, all kinds of stuff. So I'm making a pile of things. So anyway, so if you want a deal, do look out for that, and it will be posted again. A calendar should be posted here in the next week or so on the Q Talk Facebook page. So right now we are streaming, I think Andy can verify, we're on Twitch, YouTube, my personal Facebook page, and Q Talk Facebook page. So thanks everyone who had signed up for a kit. Let's jump in. Okay, so this is our project for the day. Our play along. Let's see. So inside said kit was a pearl. You had a couple of CZs, and let me tell you what I did and my choices, why I made these choices. Okay, so CZs decided to do it in two sizes because it just gave it a little bit more play to the eye. And also you'll see that I have the stems, I'll call them, in different lengths. Again, it just sort of created some interest, and that's what I always try to do in all my projects, is try to create interest as many places as I possibly can. So then someone had reached out and said, hey, I didn't get any tubing for your project. Well, I know it looks like tubing here, but it isn't. It's actually flattened wire. So we do have a 3mm and a 4mm tube setting, but this is going to be, flattened out, and yeah, it sort of looks like a tube, right? So then we have the wires. That's optional to flatten those out. And then we have here a bead wire and a pearl. And to set said pearl is a peg in the middle, okay? And there's a disc behind that. So let's go through the steps and do it. So the easiest thing to start with is we're going to go ahead and start with the ring. This ring is sort of up to you as to what size you want, but I wanted it a little bit more proportional. You could do a little smaller if you want to. You can do a little bit bigger if you want to. There's a reason why there's no jump rings going the other ways, because we are connecting our chain directly onto this ring. It's a look, it's a design choice, but you could, if you wanted to, make it a little bit more what am I thinking? Not adjustable, a little bit, oh, I can't even think, sorry. You could put a jump ring on there, and then you can swap out your chains all you want. But this was, again, a design choice that I had made. Okay, so starting with 14 gauge wire, you can use either your multi-looping plier, or you can use a bezel mandrel to make the loop. It's approximately, oh, lost my ruler. Hold on. Okay. So it's approximately 1/2 inch wide on the outside diameter. Okay. So I think I'm just going to use my multi-looping plier and make life a little bit easier. You know, you can also use a half round plier. Okay. Oops. You know what? Hold on. I'm going to move this out before I lose all my pieces, because I have tiny little pieces today. I already lost a CZ setting up for this. Like, you know what? I'll find it later. Okay, so with my multi-looping plier, I'm going to go to the largest loop right there. And we're just going to bend it around. All the way around. And you see how I stop there? Don't stop there. You want to keep going and bypass. You want to bypass that end. That way it becomes full circle. If you ever have rings that have a flat part, it's because you stop short. So you want to make sure that you bypass it so that all of the surfaces are round. Okay. Oops, I forgot a cutter. Hold on a second. Yeeps. Hit my head. Hi, Dory, Pam, and Dave. Wait, this is new for Dave. Dave, are you going to take up jewelry making out there? Anyway, okay, so notice I trimmed it. We are just past, and so I'm just going to take out a nice heavy duty cutter and trim it right there. Okay, so if you don't have a great cutter, make sure that you file the ends. File or sand the ends, and make sure that it's really nice for soldering. I forgot my files too. All right. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and leave this open because I'm going to slip these pieces in later. So now we have a nice round. Okay. So set that aside. And then here, take out your 16 gauge wire. Up to you how long you want to do this. Just remember that you need to add at least a 1/4 inch on the end for the loop. Okay. So cut some pieces of 16 gauge wire. I'm going to cut another piece here. Maybe I don't have to cut. Using scrap today. Let's see. That's okay. So we're at about, sorry. So the first one, this one, the short one for me is going to be about 3/4 of an inch, because by the time I roll it over, it's going to be about 1/2 inch. And then this one is going to be about 1 inch. And then the long one is going to be about, I'm going to go with 1 3/4 inches. So let's see where we are. So we're just over, but I'm not even going to bother trimming that. We'll trim it later, okay? Why? It's already been cut, gives us a little margin. So first things first, let's go ahead and straighten that out, because it's easier to straighten it out now than later. So with the convex facing up, go ahead and use your leather mallet, like so. And then I'm going to pull out, oh geez, okay, I know, it's a day. It's a day. Another mallet, or hey, look, I have a little anvil because, or not another mallet, I'm sorry, another bench block. But since I don't have my second bench block sitting here, anything flat would be good. I'm going to see if I can flatten this out. We're being creative today. But 2 bench blocks to flatten this out would be great. Okay? Make easy work of it. There you go. Take out your chasing hammer. Actually, you need to grab a file. I forgot my files. Did I forget everything today? I think so. I think so. All right. So I want to file this edge first. Just like so. You can cut burr that if you have a cut burr. And I want to flatten about 1/4 inch. Like so. Of one side. You only need that 1/4 inch of one side. You don't need both sides. Well, it's a look if you want to go the other side too. Okay. So there you go. Feel for sharp edges. Take some of that off. Okay, so for this one, if you want to, you could also flatten out this wire a little bit, or you can take the back end of your ball peen on your chasing hammer and put some texture in there. Just be careful not to go too far, because if you go too far, you're going to create a weak spot. You create a weak spot, and it's going to break, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Debating, do I want to do that? Okay, I'll do a little bit. So notice how I'm holding this. So I have my flat end and I'm holding it down so that the flat end is, or the flat side is flat to the surface. That way I maintain the same plane, right? This is important. Well, I suppose you can go the other way, but it makes more sense this way. And notice I'm gently hammering this. I'm only going to flatten it about, I would say 1/3. Whereas when I flattened this side, I flattened it all the way down to about 1/4, right? So I just wanted to give a little bit of a flattened texture. And again, notice how I'm just sort of stroking that, because I want a nice flat surface. I don't want any dings in it, but if you want a hammered look, so definitely go at it. But the only other thing I would say is don't tilt your chasing hammer like this, because if you tilt and start hammering, you're going to create weak spot, weak spot, weak spot, right? So you don't want to do that. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to do that for the other pieces too. This one's a little sharp. I'm going to take off that sharp edge. Give it a little tiny bit of work on my file. You can sand it too if you prefer to sand. So does it matter if these are even? It only matters to you. So if you want to line them up and see if any of these, see that they are all the same or not. Let's see, where are we? Close, pretty close. This one can use a little bit more. That way your loop will look consistent, okay? Take out a round nose or a multi-looping plier, and I'm just going to roll it around. feeling a little small. I think I'm going to go to, actually I'm going to roll it back out a little bit. And this is optional, by the way, you know, this flattening thing. It just gives it an interest point, right? So notice I rolled it all the way over. I'm going to put this right back in. And watch, I'm going to roll it back the other way. Just to sort of like make a question mark. I like it that way. Actually, I don't know. Sorry. Take it back. Too used to doing it that way. You need to leave it flat. And you'll see why here in a second. My bad. Okay, again, roll it over. And what's nice about the multi-looping plier is you always consistently have the same size. Okay. Put it all the way over like so. Same thing here. There you go. Okay. So we're going to leave it flat like this on the back side instead of making this question mark thing that I did, so that it lays flat on your neck. Sorry. So to fix this, I'm going to put this right back in, and I'm holding it with a pair of chain nose, and I'm going to flatten it back out. I'm just pulling on it until I get my shape. There we go. Okay. I'm only flattening the middle one just because I can. Let's trim the other side too. So I'm going to trim it for a flat surface. I'm going to file it just a little bit, and this will help set up the soldering. There we go. Let's make sure this one's good. Nope. And then I'm going to take a look and see how I like my sizes, just to make sure there's a variance. So this one, not too much of a variance. I'm going to cut this one a little bit shorter because clearly I can't make that one longer. So I'm just going to cut this one just to give it a little bit more of a difference in size. You know, the size here and the length, it's all up to you, right? Okay, so those are filed. And then this one, let's see, where are we going? So this one, we're going to take, yeah, we'll go there. Okay. Not a big measure on projects like this. I mean, of course, you can be really particular about it if you want to, but I'm not seeing a real need. Okay. So what I'm looking at and what is determining my decision making is I'm thinking about the pearl and how much further of a drop it is compared to the other one. So I'm going to shorten that even more. So I don't want it to look awkward, right? I just want it to look like it sort of flows. Okay. File that and set it aside. Okay. So then you have your bead wire. Again, let's start with we'll go with the second to largest with the bead wire, and we're just going to make a ring out of it. Oh, I assumed that this piece would be big enough, and it's not. It's a piece of scrap. So let's see if it's still big enough if I bring it around like so. I want this to be big enough that the pearl can sit in the middle. Ooh, and it does. Ooh, that was perfect. Yay! And it needs to be big enough to sit on top of the disc. Okay, so I'm going with that. I'm so excited. It is perfect. I love using up my scrap. If you know me, you know that makes my heart pitter-patter. Because I hate waste. I know, it's sort of silly, but it's, as much as it is silly. It isn't. It's a good thing to use up whatever you have so that you don't waste. It reduces, you know, stuff in the environment. And I know what we're doing is not necessary because we're making jewelry. Do we need jewelry? Depends on who you talk to. So what I'm doing now is I'm working my joint together to make a nice connection. And it has a little bit of a pitch there, so we're going to just squeeze it down just a little bit. It's not perfectly round, but it will be after I solder it. Then I can go ahead and make it round. It's easier once, by soldering it, you give it a little bit of leverage and makes it easier to go round. Actually, so I'm going to go ahead and close this up. I'm going to solder this closed too. I'm going to use, I know I shouldn't use my nails, but I do. 2 pairs of pliers. Roll it back and forth. And as I'm rolling, it's just a jump ring, right? So as I'm rolling it back and forth, I'm pushing it together so that the join finally touches, right? And you can hear it snap if you do it right. Okay, if you have a pitch like this on your join, I have a ever so slight pitch, you can put it in your chain nose, give it a tiny little squeeze. Now, some people, when they make a ring, will tell you to make it into a D shape. I would argue you don't want to do that unless you're desperate, okay? Because what happens is if you're making this D shape, when you go to bend it round, that join, you're stretching that joint around again. But if you start with a round joint and you stretch it a little bit, it's not like this huge stress on the joint, okay? That's my argument. I'm sticking to it. Okay, so I'm feeling it to make sure it's nice and even. And we'll go ahead and solder. So using paste solder, we'll start with hard. Move things aside before I lose them. Okay. So a lot of people, I did a class last week, and a lot of people are like, oh, why are you using your solder board on top of your tripod? Well, the only reason why I do that, quite frankly, is because of this virtual thing, right? It's easier to demonstrate up here than it is on the table. And because I don't have soldering stations, I'm constantly moving things on and off. It makes it a little bit easier for me to work with. But of course, you don't have to have this on a tripod. So this is just clearly an old solder board, okay? So I put the solder in the wrong place. So here I'm going to put a little tiny bit of hard solder right at the joint. Again, this is paste solder. And then I'm going to do the bead ring too at the same time. Why not, right? I've got my pickle pot going. It's nice and hot. This bead ring was done too well. I can't find the joint. Oh, there it is. Okay. So when you cut bead wire, you might want to cut in between the bead instead of in the middle of a bead. That way, you'll never see that joint, right? Okay. Oops. Okay. So, torch in one hand, tool in the other. Let's heat the whole thing. Round in a circle. Heat, heat, heat. And then right at the join. Heat, heat, heat. Right at the join. Watch the solder suck right through there. Yay. And let's do the other one. I don't know. I feel like this bead ring is a little small. Hopefully it's not too small. If not, we'll just make another one. Okay. I'm thinking that once I make it round, it'll be okay. Okay, so we're going to quench that. I'm going to put the large ring right into the pickle. I don't think it's going to fit in my mandrel, and it's not. So I'm going to find anything that's round that might fit this. So it's the center punch today. Constantly looking around at my tools to see how I can use it differently, not just what its intended mark. Okay, let's let's see. Using my baby hammer, because we love our baby hammer. Okay, so now the question is this big enough? It is. Yes. Okay. All right, so it's nice and round. It's big enough to fit the pearl. This is optional. I like the flattened beads. So I'm just going to take out my chasing hammer and I'm just going to flatten it just a little bit. You can do this before or after you solder it onto your disc. Okay, this creates a flat side for soldering, which is great. If you decide not to flatten it, you may want to take this and sand it, just the bottom, to give it a nice surface for soldering. All right, we'll stick that in the pickle too. While those things are pickling, let's go ahead and solder these other pieces. Okay. So this is a tube setting. You might want to take a look at that. Make sure that the seat side is facing up, or else this is going to be upside down. And how can you tell is if you look at your tube setting, one side has a flat edge, whereas the other side, if you look inside, there's a tiny little seat in it. So that's how you know what's what. I'm going to put that right there. Take out I'm going to take my second longest stem, and I'll use hard solder again. Actually, you know, I'm going to use easy solder because there's no other soldering on this piece. Ooh, oh, oops. Okay then, I have solder everywhere, and I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of easy solder. I'm going to put it right there. Okay. And then I'm going to do the other one too. I'm going to wipe this off. A pair of tweezers is going to be my friend, I'm feeling. So let's see if we can find the other tube. It's right there. And let's grab the stem. Dip it right in there and grab a teeny bit of solder. Again, you can use any solder on this because it's only one joint and done, so it doesn't matter. I'm opting for easy. You can do hard, whatever. Okay, so what's going to happen here is they're going to want to roll over. Do you see this one already rolled over? So either you hold it with a pair of tweezers, or you can prop it into something like a honeycomb block, something like this, right? With pins, so that it holds it in place. Up to you. You know me. I'm going to freehand it because it's faster. Who's got time to bother with the other, right? So we'll just go like this. Put this back. Okay, we're going to start here. Heat, heat, heat. Put it right down. Oh, I missed. Did I miss? I missed. I don't know where my solder went. Do it one more time. Grab a little bit of solder. There you go. Okay. Done deal? It's a little crooked. Okay, we'll fix it. I know. Who's ever going to notice? No one except for me. Let's see if I can do it without melting something. Okay, no, instead, I made it more crooked. There we go. Still crooked. How many times can I do this? Ha! Close. There it is. See, nice and even. All right, quench. Throw that into the pickle. Let's grab the other one. Be gentle with it. It's a very small part. That's done. All right. Gonna go get that bead wire out of the pickle. And let's go ahead and solder that on to your disc. So we're gonna go ahead and go to medium solder on here. And this is where I'm going to prefer to go onto my my tripod, because then I can heat from underneath. So I go to medium solder. So remember step soldering, right? We start with hard, we go to medium, then we go to easy. So I'll add the stem on with easy. So here I'm just going to put it in 4 points. Top, bottom, left, right. Okay. Go. Put this right on there. Right on top of that disc. So this way, because I have a disc and a flat part on the bottom, I can go ahead and heat from the underneath, and then I'm going to come right over the top and finish off the job. Done deal. Quench and pickle. All right, let's go pull the other pieces out of the pickle. Make sure you rinse everything that's coming out of the pickle, okay? Because remember, pickle's an acid. Still needs a little more. Okay, so while that's pickling, we can start putting this together. Also optional, totally up to you. If you want to, you can flatten this ring just a little bit. Again, it creates interest. It makes it a little different. I'm gonna make this round. Double check it. I have a little wobble. And then I'm going to make that join disappear. So we're going to do a little bit of sanding. Right at that join. Make it nice. Okay. Go. Okay. And, you know, I am going to go ahead and hammer this just a little bit because I can. I do really like flattened rings. I don't know why. I just think it creates so much interest. Okay, maybe a quarter of the way. That's all I've got going on here. I'll go ahead and start doing a little tiny bit of finishing on here. We'll just polish it up with some steel wool while we wait for the other pieces. And it's a little bit easier to go ahead and do this now rather than do it after you connect it. Then you don't have all these other pieces running around. Okay, we can do both sides. Okay, which is, oh. I confused myself just now. Okay, I'll share what happened. So I had this little stem here, and I thought it was the one for the 4mm tube setting. I looked down and went, oh my God, my tube setting fell off, but actually that's the one that's waiting for the pearl. Oops. Oopsie daisy. You could also use a brass brush here if you prefer. Either way. You can throw this in the tumbler if you want this super shiny. These are tiny little parts that probably the tumbler would be good for it, right? I'm just going to do like this, so. Because you guys don't want to sit here waiting for me to work my tumbler. Okay. Here you are. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and connect this piece. Easy peasy. Just gently open it just a little bit and slip it on. There we go. Roll it back around. And that one's almost done. We just have to set the stone. So there's one. Let's grab the other pieces. Should be done pickling by now, one hopes. Good enough. Rinsing, drying on the side here. That's one. That's two. Okay, so this one we'll finish real quick. Tiny little bit of polishing. Okay, same thing, open it up, add it to the ring. Does it matter which side you have it on? Not right now. Make sure though that they're facing the same side, but it doesn't matter which side of the other, get it? Anyway, sorry. I digress. Okay. Let's solder this one on. Nice flat surface would be nice, would be good. And we're gonna put it right there. So the other thing too is if you flatten it enough, it should sit on its own, which makes easy work for you. We're gonna go with easy solder on this round because we've already done hard and medium. So now we're just gonna use that easy. Okay. Okay, solder moved, but it didn't go where I wanted it to go. Yeah, it's not a good join. It's soldered, but it's not a good join. I can see that. So you know what? It ran, I don't know if you could see that, it ran up my stem. So I'm just going to put a tiny little bit more solder. I'm going to put it on the back side. And I'll draw it up. Okay. Heat the whole thing. It's a pretty small piece. Okay, I just realized my hand was in the way. So let me move this in such a way that that's not a problem. Okay, better. Sorry. Heat the whole thing. And then heat right at the join. And notice I keep taking my flame away in fear of melting it. So I'm controlling my heat, right? Okay. Let's see. Check it. Pretty good. Throw it in the pickle. So a couple more steps. We need to set the stones. We need to drill a hole to create a pin for the pearl or peg. All right, let me get rid of this. Okay, let's see. Can you ask that question one more time? Okay, so there's a question on, I think, Facebook, but anyway, is where am I soldering this join, right? Is it butt up to the tube setting or is it an overlap? It is, I butt it up. The reason why is because if you put it underneath, then it's sort of lopsided. It doesn't sit quite right. So, and because if you notice, if you hold it up like this, then they're all flat to the back, right? It seems to make sense on this one. Okay. So, okay. So I grabbed a setting, bezel setting punch. And because we have two sizes, we have a 3mm and we have a 4mm, I'm going with a 4mm to go with the 3 and then the 5mm to go with the 4. Think about it. It has to be bigger than the setting to go over it because it's the same size, then nothing happens, right? So grab your bench block, wherever Q put the bench block, right in front of her. So, and some tweezers. Drop your stone in there. Okay, so here's a trick for you. Stone's not in even, so I'm going to come in from the back side and push it up until I get it nice and even. I love using the back of my tweezers to push down on it to make sure that it is perfectly even. Set it back down, take out your chasing hammer, take out your punch. That's not the right size punch. That's a 4.5. We want the 4. And we're gonna go right over it, right? Just put it right on top. Give it some punches. I also like to get right in there and give it a twist. See that? And it's just sort of rocking around, and I know it's really hard to see on camera, but you can see the sides have moved over the stone. Okay. Go ahead and put in the next one. Switched out my punch to a 5. This is a 4mm stone. Are you still with us, Dave? Oh, he left. Okay, so that was not even, so I'm trying to even it out from the back side here. It's not working for me right now. Eek. Yes, this is what I get for using tiny little stones. Okay, try that again. Actually, I'm going to go upside down on it like this and see if I can get it on evenly and flip it over. Wow, that worked nicely. So do whatever you need to do to get that stone even, okay? That's where I'm at. Depends on the day that I would do it this way, do it that way. Mostly even. Gonna try that one more time. Okay. Yep. So I'm looking at the stone right now, and I'm looking to see that it is even across the top. I'm looking for that, the table and how straight it is. Pretty straight doesn't make me that happy. I want it to be perfectly straight. Okay. Again, this is where the back of my tweezers come in, and it works really well. Okay, just like that. Once again with the punch right over, but you know what? There we go. Okay. And then take this out. Lots of pressure down. Twist, twist, twist. That's great. How do you check it? You can check it by taking your tweezers and pushing in the backside and see if it pops out. If it pops out, guess what? You're not set. But you can also see that the sides have rolled over, and that's important, right? You do a little tiny bit more. Okay. Set this aside. Let's go get that pearl. The pearl drop. Okay, so at this point, you need to mark the center, however you want to mark that center. I'm actually not going to mark it. I'm going to eyeball it. Because it's so small, I should be able to easily find the center. My head's going to be in the way. Give me a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look over it, right? And I'm going to see that the space around my center punch is nice and even. And that just tells me where the center is. It's the easiest way, easiest, fastest way to do it. I know not everybody can do this, but that's okay. We all work a little bit differently. There we go. Give a little tap. If you have a center finder, use that. So I'm going to stick this right here. Pull out my flex shaft. You don't have a flex shaft, you'll need a pin vise to do this. The flex shaft is going to be the quickest, fastest way to go. Switch out and put yeah, the center finder tool does make life a lot easier, doesn't it? So I'm making my flex shaft really small because my drill bit's really small. So this is a 56 drill bit for a 20 gauge piece of wire. This is going to be for the peg. Okay, let's make sure it's straight. Ooh, not even close. Okay, so before you approach your metal, make sure you spin it in the flex shaft and make sure that it is nice and straight before you go drilling anything, or else something's going to break. More than likely, your drill bit is going to break. Piece of wood, your bench pin, either way, it works. And a little bit of cut loop, wax, paraffin, it all works. Okay, just like that. And because this drill bit's so small, I never leave them in, or else as soon as I let it go, it's going to hit something and it'll break. So make sure I take it out. Oh, pro tip. If you have a whole container of drill bits like this, how do you know which one is used and which one is new? Well, how I do it is up for used, and then the ones that are down, they're new. So get it? Up, used. Okay. Here we are. I'm going to go ahead and oxidize this. So this trick I recently learned from Stephanie Chavez. This is pretty cool. You can use liver of sulfur on here, but I'm going to use black max today. So liver of sulfur, warm up some water, throw in the liver of sulfur, dip it, rinse it, voila. So this is a watercolor brush. And I filled it with Black Max because it makes everything so easy. And notice it goes right where I want it to go. How cool is that? So it's my new tool on my workbench that I love so much. Thank you, Stephanie. How did I find out about this? I needed to borrow some Black Max from her and she hands me these pens. Okay, rinse it really well. Ooh, Black Max ate your watercolor brush. Oh, okay then. Let's see where we are in a couple months. So I've had this in here for a month now. How long did it take for it to eat your watercolor brush? For everybody else who doesn't know, there's a comments on Facebook. I'm not just sitting here talking to myself and making up conversation. I promise. So I'm going to give this a little polish. Oh, I don't know why I'm polishing this up. Duh. Okay. Could be a different brand. We'll see. I forgot to put the pin in. Oops. You only need about a 1/4 inch for this. I haven't soldered that yet. So we'll put this right back on here and we'll do this all over again. I'm just going to stick my pin right in there and actually take some easy solder again. And I'm actually going to put the solder on the back side because it sort of ensures that it'll fill the hole, right? So the trick here is not to melt that. Just saying. So make sure you heat around it, but not the pin. Pin's right in the middle. Okay. Gentle. There we go. I saw the solder come through. See, there it is. Throw that back in the pickle. Black Max it again. And repolish it. Well, while they're doing that, we can go ahead and add our chain. Okay. Chain nose. 2 pairs of chain nose, or a chain nose and a flat nose. Get some chain out. Put it right in there. So just so you know, if you ordered the kit, just so we are clear, the chain is not sterling. Don't go torching it. It is an antiqued chain, antique silver chain that is over copper, if I remember correctly. That's why the kit was so cheap. Okay, do a second one. So then you have, so it looks like this. Wait for it. So it looks like that. Okay. And then of course, we're just going to go ahead and add a large ring on one side for the catch. And then we're going to just take that little jump ring on the clasp and connect it directly on there. And we'll add the pearl here in a second. Oops. Teeny weeny. I know, how much smaller can I get this? So for those of you who bought a kit, this is about a 2.5 millimeter jump ring, just to let you know. Why am I telling you that? Because I know some of you who are doing this signed up for my Octopi class at Metal Immersion. Just giving you something to anticipate, that's all. Some, you know, so that's something to be anxious about, even though Metal Immersion isn't until January. By the way, if you are in the greater Philadelphia, Wilmington area, Metal Immersion this year will be in Wilmington once again. And the classes registration is already up and open. There are, I think, 5 classes are already sold out. So if you want to join us, you better register soon. Okay, so there's my chain. Just stick that aside. Let's go get that pearl again. Okay, so I've got all kinds of crud going on in there. Ugh. So I'm going to take out my scratch brush and I am going to clean it. These brushes are great because it's itty bitty and it gets in tiny little places, like so. Okay, we'll black max it again, or liver sulfur. Go. Okay. Rinse that. Dry it, polish it, attach it. Just about there. Almost done. Just remember, if you're using Black Max or something like that, you've got to get it rinsed out completely, especially if you're going to use steel wool on it, because if the acid gets on the steel wool, it turns everything into a funky color. Because it's also oxidizing the steel wool. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Don't worry, Linda, this video is up permanently, so it's not going away. You can watch this many times for the next few years. so where did you see, someone said that this was posted at 2. Where did you see it for 2? I need to make sure that that is corrected somewhere along the line. Okay, so here we are. So everything is cleaned up and we're ready to put the pearl on. Okay, actually I'm going to attach it first. Chain nose, open this slightly, add it onto the ring, and close it up. Okay, there we are. Okay, let's come in a little bit closer. Okay, so now all we have to do is deal with this peg. How do you know what size? Well, I don't. I guess. So I'm going to cut it. put my stone on, my pearl on, and go, oh, is it touching the ground? There's a tiny little bit of space left, so I'm gonna just go ahead and trim it just, you'll see it teeny weeny a little bit more. And I just start trimming until my pearl is now sitting flat to the ground. It's still slightly off, but it freaks me out to cut it too short. So I cut a very little amount at a time. There you go. Okay, so now all you have to do is put a little bit of glue on there. I like 2-part epoxy. E6000 works well too. Just remember that there's shelf life on all glue. So if your glue's been sitting around for a long time, it may not work as well. But just a little bit of glue right on that peg and then put your stone on and you are done. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, these videos are up on the my Facebook page and on the Q Talk Facebook page, and also on YouTube indefinitely. If it's on Twitch, it's only up there for 2 weeks, just if you're watching Twitch, by the way. So hi everybody on Twitch and YouTube and Facebook. Thank you so much for joining me. There's going to be at least one more play along before the end of the year, maybe 2, and it'll get posted within the next week. The calendar for, where are we? October, November, December, the rest of the year will be posted also here in the next week. Don't forget Virtually Ever Crafting and virtuallyevercrafting.com. I think that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thanks for playing along with me. We'll see you next time. Oh, yeah, the D-stash. Probably in the next 2 weeks. We'll do the D-stash, 2 or 3 weeks, okay? Have a good one, everyone. Enjoy the weather. The sun is finally out after 2 weeks of not seeing it, and we're going to go enjoy it. All right. Have a good one. Thanks for hanging out.